of strange Pokemon on Lewis's side that all require special attention. We'll have to see which Pokemon he decided were most important.
Well, Lewis thinks that Gengar that you just mentioned is going to be really important, bringing it to the battle to kick things off here with the Tapu Fini alongside it. Ko wants to kick things off with Incineroar and Rayquaza, trying to set up for some big damage in these first turns.
Yeah, well, one important way of dealing with the Gengar is not giving it too many free turns. It's going to have a hard time against that Rayquaza, who could potentially pick up an easy knockout on it. But Tapu Fini sitting across the field, not something Rayquaza is going to be as excited about. As a Fairy-type Pokemon, can do a lot of damage to that Rayquaza. One other important thing to keep in mind on this turn is that Incineroar, if Ferrothorn is Lewis's plan for winning this game, it's going to be very important to damage that Incineroar as much as possible. That Fire-type Pokemon going to be the one Pokemon that really can do a lot of damage to Ferrothorn. So Ko going to want to be very careful with that Incineroar in this matchup. I think it's a little bit more important to preserve it than maybe it is against some other teams. Where on Lewis's side, usually Incineroar is not the biggest threat in the field, and it's hard to focus it too hard with a powerful Rayquaza next to it, but it is important to pick up a knockout at some point if you can.
Interestingly enough then, if Tapu Fini is going to be a great way to counter that Rayquaza, wants to put out some pressure of their own in the Intimidate department. So Tapu Fini going back to Lewis's hand and bringing out Incineroar in its place. And we're seeing a Mega Evolution right off the bat here. Gengar getting a chance to Mega Evolve.
Yeah, Gengar has the Shadow Tag ability after it Mega Evolves, so it'll prevent any Pokemon from Ko's side of the field from switching. But you'll see Rayquaza Mega Evolving, so lots of power on the field right now.
Definitely lots of power, but I think it's important that we mention the fact that Incineroar now really can't switch out. So Ko's going to have to play this one really carefully if they want to preserve that Incineroar if Ferrothorn is in the back for Lewis. Gengar going for Protect.
Yeah, smart play, you know. You don't want to lose the effect of that Shadow Tag before it can do anything. Just playing it safe, but smart play.
Wow, good read though from Ko. Gonna get set up with a Tailwind for basically free here. And Incineroar, oh, smartly calling that Protect, will get a chance to U-turn. It will be able to go back.
Yeah, you can't switch normally, but U-turn works just fine. Escapes that Shadow Tag, avoids taking any damage, and also sheds that Intimidate. A nice little play there for Ko. Super important to play a smart positional game against Mega Gengar. You can't afford to be trapped in a disadvantageous position. He's able to get whatever Pokemon he wants out now against this Gengar. And face down the combination of Mega Gengar Shadow Tag and a potential Fake Out from that Incineroar next turn.
Absolutely, and now you also have the fake out pressure on your own field that you can save for later. But Amoonguss there trying to draw some attention away from Ko's Rayquaza. Maybe after that Mega Evolution, it's ready to do some damage.
Yeah, I mean, Amoonguss is going to be great at drawing attacks away. One thing to keep in mind with that Misty Terrain on the field, it's not going to be able to put any Pokemon to sleep with Spore, so it is kind of just a Rage Powder bot here, but that is going to be very effective. Another thing to notice with Lewis having played 3 of his Pokemon, we haven't seen either of his restricted Pokemon yet, so if he does have that Ferrothorn in the back, which I think is pretty unlikely now, he wouldn't have brought either of his restricted Pokemon. With Yveltal having such a tough matchup against Xerneas, I would guess that Xerneas is Ko's probably final Pokemon, and then it's most likely the Groudon that's Lewis's last.
Well, both of these players are still feeling each other out a little bit here, want to get as much information as possible. Rayquaza going for a Protect, but Mega Gengar here is going to be able to do some major damage to the field. Ooh, I'm excited about Parasong here. Don't get to see that too often, and Clear Smog now coming out from Amoonguss. Not super effective, but wow.
Yeah, cute little play for Lewis. Doesn't really take any damage for getting that Parasong up, and now Ko's going to have to be very careful. All the Pokemon in the field will faint after 3 turns if they're still out here, and it's very important in the context of that to use your turns wisely and not really getting anything out of that first turn of the Parasong on Ko's side. Ideally, want to try to focus on that Mega Gengar, but it's tough to do. You know, it will most likely be using Protect next turn unless Lewis wants to get very cheeky, and there we see it.
Oh, still going for a Protect again here, and this is kind of just Lewis getting a little bit of more positioning here. Actually going for a double Protect, wants to buy as much time as possible to see if that Parasong can really take effect here. The Rage Powder, Ko's not going to be able to get too much done this turn.
And an Earth Power, so we didn't always see Rayquaza get taught this move. We did just see it last round, but that Earth Power would do a whole bunch of damage to either of these Pokemon were to connect. Interesting to see that Protect from Incineroar. A lot of players aren't able to find room for Protect, even though it's such a great move on Incineroar because it can learn so many great supportive moves. But it makes a lot of sense in the context of Lewis's team. With that Parasong, you're just trying to spell out as long as you can. However, there isn't a really clear way for Lewis now to avoid having Gengar just get knocked out if he leaves on the field. So he's going to have to switch, give up that Shadow Tag for now, try to find some way to get it back out in the field, perhaps by using a U-turn with his own Incineroar.
Well, that switch out is going to reveal Lewis's fourth and final Pokemon in this first game. Groudon now entering the field and changing the battlefield in his advantage. What to do, though, with the rest of the Pokemon on the field? Does he want to give up Incineroar here? Are we going to see a second switch out to be able to save that big cat as well? Looks like actually no more switches here. Rayquaza going for a Dragon Ascent. Ooh. Gonna go ahead and hit into the Groudon slot. Good read there from Ko, getting some major damage into Groudon, but Groudon takes that one on the chin. Incineroar also gonna get a chance to... Oh, but we'll be able to come back to Lewis. We'll get a chance to preserve that Incineroar for a little bit later.
Yeah, sort of a strange move there. Doesn't risk U-turning any protects. You know, if he was to U-turn into a protect, he wouldn't be able to get Gengar out. Shadow Tag would be broken. So instead, U-turns his own Gengar to make sure that, well, I know I'm not protecting. Smart play.
Very smart play, and not something that you see too often on the field. So it's caught me by surprise just a little bit here, but I think that this is going to be a sticky situation here for Ko. Tailwind also petering out now. So we're going to have to see some reposturing here.
Yeah, that may be a game-winning play by Lewis. Because he was able to pull that off, Groudon has to take some damage, but you're happy to give up 90 damage on Groudon for a play now where these two Pokemon just use Protect. It's the last turn of Parasong for Amoonguss and Rayquaza, so both of these Pokemon are going to faint after this turn. Lewis almost definitely going to go after a big 4-2 advantage, switching Groudon out, so posturing now perhaps to try to make it more difficult for a likely Xerneas next turn.
Xerneas is going to be a big powerhouse if Ko is able to succeed with this next turn, but this is where it gets really tough. Want us to have a chance to switch out all of them, but Lewis, again, playing it very safe here, wants to make sure that Gengar can persist on the field. Ko does go for something a little bit cheeky here. Amoonguss going for a Rage Powder, so it will not be able to do anything too much here. Support moves coming out from both Pokemon on Ko's side of the field, and that's going to be it.
Yeah, guys, Ko deciding that, well, I can't really do any meaningful damage here. My Rayquaza has been intimidated. I want to be intimidated twice. 2 big knockouts as these Pokemon fall off the field, but Ko doing everything he can to get that Tailwind up, to try to put himself in a position where his back Pokemon would be able to sweep here. But Lewis, on the other hand, has continued to play himself into a great spot. Now with Incineroar out, he can use Fake Out next turn, try to go for a Parasong, but the Incineroar will also be coming back in on Ko's side of the field, threatening its own Fake Out to interrupt that play if it can.
Well, Ko is still set up really well here, having Incineroar and Xerneas out on the field. It almost reminds me of the earlier parts of the 2019 VGC season, where this is kind of the bread and butter of this composition, using Incineroar as a great support to protect Xerneas in order to allow it to get Geomancy on the field and dish out some large damage here. But I agree with you, Lewis still has that 2 Pokemon advantage.
Yeah, just you see the forfeit here. Really impressive first game by Lewis. Ko realizing that, well, Mega Gengar is going to be able to use Parasong. There's no way I'm going to be able to stall that out when I have 4 Pokemon to knock out. And wow, I mean, that's a really decisive victory in this first game.
Really decisive victory, and I think another thing that was really smart about that forfeit on Ko's side is that you're not giving up too much information here, especially if both of these players haven't seen each other yet in the Swiss format or moving through the top cut bracket. Then they are still having surprises up their sleeve to bring to this next match.
Yeah, I think, again, Lewis already had a trickier team preview to try to navigate where there's so many Pokemon on his side of the field that you really have to be wary of if you're Ko. Getting that first victory is going to put even more pressure on him. I still think this is a very winnable matchup from his side of the field, but he's going to have to be perfect from here on out. Not only does he have to play defense against the potential of another strategy built around that Mega Gengar, but we didn't see that for Hawthorne we talked about before the game that match. That's still a strategy that Lewis could opt to do if Ko kind of sells out too hard to try to stop that Mega Gengar. There's just a lot he has to worry about here. Another thing I love about that match is Lewis's choice not to bring Yveltal. I don't think he really needs it. It doesn't do a whole lot against most of those Pokemon. We saw a bunch of things that are, it's kind of like a who's who of what Yveltal isn't very good against. So wisely not bringing it there. If he chooses to, you can still dish out some damage perhaps, but you know, there's a lot of Pokemon on that side of the field that resist dark type attacks, 4 of them potentially. So smart team preview for him.
I wonder if we're also going to see a little bit of a switch on Lewis's Pokemon that he brings to this next game, because you'd think that after Ko got a chance to see what Gengar is capable of, that same trick might not work a second time.
Yeah, at the very least, I think he's going to play much more carefully into it. Lewis played it perfectly where he kind of gets to the point on like turn 2 where there essentially was nothing left that Ko could do. I think he's got to be much more careful about getting that Amoonguss trapped out with Gengar, especially in that misty terrain. It was kind of strange where we get to see him use that U-turn to position, but I think Amoonguss was probably the wrong Pokemon to bring in there. He'll learn from that, I think, and make a better play in this game, too.
Well, no adjustments here on Lewis's side of the field is going to kick things off again with Tapu Fini and Gengar. Ko now, though, bringing Togedemaru to the field with Rayquaza.
And we do see that Togedemaru, so Ko a game away from elimination, bringing Togedemaru, putting all of his hopes into this little Pokemon.
Little Pokemon, though, packs a big punch, so I'm excited to see how Ko utilizes this supportive Pokemon to really help Rayquaza here, and the other big damage dealers.
The Togedemaru can learn a lot of different moves. It's a tricky Pokemon to play against if you haven't seen it already. One thing that Ko's going to have to keep in mind is that Lewis is set up to do sort of the same thing he did the last turn, or last game, rather. He's got Tapu Fini's Misty Terrain on the field, so he doesn't really have to worry about Amoonguss. Gengar's there, likely going to protect their switch. And Lewis's side probably want to try to pivot to Incineroar once again, get an Intimidate down on these Pokemon. So Ko's going to have to figure out, all right, well, he's probably going to try to reduce the stats of my Pokemon. What can I do to play around this? But Gengar's switching out now, so we won't have an immediate Shadow Tag this time.
No immediate Shadow Tag, but you get to preserve that function for later on in the match. Lewis realizing that Incineroar might do the best job here to protect his Pokemon from some of that pressure on Ko's side. Ooh, and a Mega Evolve here now from Rayquaza. Is he going to go for an attack, though?
If he goes for an Earth Power, that could be dangerous, switching one Pokemon weak against ground type attacks into another.
Well, you're going to have the Delta Stream up to help it a little bit, and looks like it is going to be the offensive here for Ko. Helping Hand getting exposed on Togedemaru, and it is an Earth Power. Earth Power into the Incineroar slot. This could be dangerous. Ooh, does hold on, though, and gets to use that Pinch Berry.
Yeah, the Helping Hand almost backfiring there, doing just enough damage that it activates that Pinch Berry, but tons of damage on turn one.
Tons and tons of damage here, and we're also seeing a very defensive tech here coming out from that Tapu Fini on Lewis's side.
Yeah, that Light Scream's a big deal. Now another Helping Hand Earth Power might not be able to knock out this Incineroar, and Light Screen is just a great choice on this team. It's so important to try to allow the Pokemon on this side of the field to take as little damage as possible, allow those Paris Song turns from Gengar to pass. So you don't often see Light Screen on Tapu Fini, but I think it's a really great choice on this team. Again, just seeing why these trainers made it so far, these really smart, thoughtfully put together rosters.
Yeah, well, not just the rosters, but the moves as well seem very defensive set there for Lewis. Again, protecting that Gengar here, but Ko now doing a little bit of reposturing, wants to preserve Rayquaza for some future turns, brings out Incineroar to regain that Intimidate pressure on board. I think Ko is going to be a little nervous, though, that Incineroar was able to stay in for this next turn to use Fake Out onto Togedemaru.
Ooh, we see the eject button from Togedemaru there. Not going to be able to do anything. Faking out Togedemaru, not only stopping it from moving, but getting it out of battle. Normally, I guess that's not such a big deal. I mean, Zing Zap could do a bunch of damage to Tapu Fini here. But getting around that eject button is actually really valuable for Lewis with this Parasong team. That would have been a clever way to escape Gengar's Shadow Tag. Not going to be a factor now for the rest of the game, but Xerneas comes in for free.
Xerneas does get a chance to come in for free, and it has the best supportive partner it could ask for already on its left here. But Tapu Fini now going for a Nature's Madness into the Incineroar slot will bring it down to half health.
Yeah, some great damage on the Incineroar, but if you're Ko, you're probably feeling pretty good now. Like, all right, well...
A lot better, yeah.
Yeah, it's like that first turn looked pretty rough. There's a lot of ways it could have gone wrong for him, but he gets Xerneas out for free, and despite having to get the eject button, it ends up being even better than getting out of Shadow Tag, where he's going to be able to get Geomancy up pretty easily here if he wants to start going on the offense. However, he hasn't seen all of the moves on Lewis's side of the field. Potentially, Incineroar or Tapu Fini could have a move that could... negate that Geomancy, but I think if you're Ko, you probably have to go for it here. You've already given up a bunch of damage on that Incineroar. It's time to go on the offensive. I think if you're Ko, start working toward winning the game.
I think you're absolutely right about that, but...
He doesn't go for it.
Yeah, I think Ko is thinking something a little bit different here. Gonna return Xerneas and bring Togedemaru back out onto the field. We haven't seen enough of this cute electric mouse Pokemon just yet. Icy Wind, though, coming out from Lewis's Tapu Fini is gonna slow things down for this game just a little bit here. Hopefully that's going to allow Lewis's Incineroar to always move faster. Definitely wants that speed advantage here. U-turn now into the Togedemaru slot. We're not going to see that eject button work again, but Lewis now gets a chance to bring a Pokemon back out onto the field.
Yeah, he's either going to have to bring in that Gengar or that final Pokemon. Again, you assume it's probably Groudon, but this time we see Gengar coming back in. Hasn't had the chance to Mega Evolve yet, so no Shadow Tag. And we see a big knockoff coming in. Catches the Gengar.
Ooh. Oh, it does hold on, though, but it is in dangerous territory now. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, tough play there. A really great read by Ko. Lewis anticipating that Incineroar will go for something else, perhaps a U-turn to keep cycling around. Instead goes on the offensive, and it's going to be really tough to make any Parasong plays now. Any attack would knock out Gengar from here, so Lewis is probably going to have to find a different way to win this game. Really great play by Ko now, who's taken a decisive advantage.
Well, the good thing about the players that we're seeing at this level is all of them tend to come into each of these games with a plan B, and we haven't seen that fourth Pokemon from Lewis yet, so we can only think that that is Lewis's plan B in case his Parasong doesn't work out. But we're trying it. Gengar will get a chance to Mega Evolve here, releasing that Shadow Tag ability, so nothing on Coast Side of the field is going to be able to switch out now. No eject button for Togedemaru. Protect, though, also, so Gengar will get a chance to stick around here, but Zing Zap, coming after the Togedemaru, smartly goes into the Incineroar slot, just doing some chip damage here. And now U-turn.
Another great turn by Ko, where it's pretty clear that Gengar's not going to give up a free knockout here, so uses that Protect. Ko takes advantage of it, gets some easy damage in the Incineroar. He gets the chance to switch out again, so he can bring in either of his legendary Pokemon without having to worry about too much damage coming back in return.
Not too much damage from Lewis's side, but Ko now able to put out the pressure with Rayquaza coming back on the field. Already Mega Evolved is going to have Delta Stream now active on the battlefield.
Yeah, Rayquaza pretty threatening here. With these Pokemon so weakened, I guess Rayquaza's massive attack stat not too much of a factor, and really the only Pokemon that Ko could have brought in. Even with Gengar so weakened, you gotta have to be careful with trying to put Xerneas out in the field with Gengar, but he's looking really good. He's got to start picking up these knockouts so he can transition that into a clearer advantage, but he's got some quick Pokemon out there. He hasn't really taken any meaningful damage yet, and Rayquaza just gonna play it safe, try to get a knockout here with Togedemaru perhaps.
I like that Coast doesn't want to get too aggressive here, knows that the win condition is going to be knocking out the one Pokemon that Lewis has that can really affect Xerneas here. And Zing Zap from that Togedemaru is going to be enough to take out that one Pokemon that Ko was so worried about.
And we see Flare Blitz coming either way, that's going to be super effective.
It is going to be super effective. Togedemaru not going to be able to survive through that one. A knockout on both sides. Ko, though, I think pretty happy with the trade there.
Yeah, after that first game, it's hard to complain about getting that knockout. We see Light Screen expiring, which will allow this Rayquaza to do more damage if it has to use Earth Power throughout the rest of the match, and also makes things easier for that Xerneas. Perhaps part of why we didn't see it use Geomancy before is it still have to attack through that Light Screen. No threat of that for now, with Groudon coming back in rather than Tapu Fini.
Groudon is going to be the fourth and final Pokemon here for Lewis's slate, and now Xerneas on the field, not too worried since that Gengar is gone.
Yeah, it's going to be much easier for Xerneas to get going here as we see Groudon undergoing Primal Reversion. Incineroar, usually a Pokemon, would be pretty helpful here, but with it so weakened, a single attack from either of these Pokemon could pretty feasibly knock it out. So Lewis is going to have to be careful here. He does have an okay tight matchup with the remaining Pokemon. Primal Groudon sort of has an advantage against Xerneas. Tapu Fini sort of has an advantage against Mega Rayquaza, but he's behind enough in health that it's going to be really hard to actually capitalize on that. Likely going to need to make a clever play here to get maybe Ko to attack into a Protect, or to kind of catch him sleeping as he increases his stats, because he's pretty far behind in this one. Coach just played an excellent set. That knockout being a big play, and no Protects this turn.
No Protects this turn, which means that Groudon's taking the full effect of this Earth Power from Ko's Rayquaza. Super effective without that Light Screen there. And Dazzling Gleam now from Xerneas. Not even a Geomancy, just going for the offensive. Ko getting the knockout onto Groudon, or Incineroar.
Yeah, great play there. Just doesn't take any unnecessary risks. And we see the roar, so Geomancy would have gotten punished, but smarter play, doesn't risk it, gets the knockout, gets a bunch of key damage, and Incineroar comes back in for free and gets an Intimidate down on that Groudon for its troubles.
Does. Ko played that really smart there, and now also has a lot of information that Groudon is indeed running the roar, though one of the moves that we were worried about for that Geomancy turn.
Yeah, but that's just awesome information for Ko to get to. If Groudon had done anything else, there's still a pretty good chance that Ko wins this game, but it really helps him narrow down what he has to do in Game 3 now also, where he was in a position where he could have used Geomancy before. Neither of those Pokemon showed any ways to stop his Geomancy, and now Groudon has, so he has a much better idea of which Pokemon he needs to try to get Xerneas out against in the future if he's able to close this second game.
Absolutely. The other thing, too, for going in Ko's favor right now is just the weather battle here. Lewis doesn't have to super worry about whether or not you're going to have to reset the weather at all. Groudon is going to be able to keep that Desolate Land active because, well, Rayquaza's already Mega Evolved. So it's a good thing, at least for Lewis. Maybe gives him a little bit more hope here moving into things, but he's going to need one more knockout maybe just to get himself into a better position here for this game.
You'll have to see if Tapu Fini knows any powerful attacks. We've seen him be very supportive so far. Normally we see Tapu Fini get taught Moonblast and perhaps a Water-type move, which would work with Thistle Land active here, but we're not going to find out for now. We see the Fake Out come down to the Tapu Fini, and Rayquaza is going on the offense.
Rayquaza is going on the offense. This is going to secure the third knockout for Ko's side of the field. And now it's just Tapu Fini left against the world here. Ko probably feeling pretty good about this match.
Yeah, I think it's a really great Pokemon to leave as the last two. Again, normally, at least there's some trouble with leaving Tapu Fini against this sort of Pokemon, but this Tapu Fini is so defensive that it really can't win on its own. It looks like we're going to see Lewis lock in the forfeit.
Forfeits now from both of these players here, so this is going to be an even game going into a Game 3 for this set. What a way for the senior finals to go.
Yeah, I really love how Ko adjusted after game one. Understood he had to play a little bit smarter against the Gengar. I got the pressure up against early, enough so that Lewis didn't feel like he was comfortable Mega Evolving. Tried to maneuver around a little bit instead, and Ko was able to just stay one step ahead in that one. I also think, again, it's even better on Ko's end from the end that he learned a lot about which Pokemon on Lewis's team probably can and can't stop his Xerneas from using Geomancy. We never even saw him go for it in that game, but it's something that it will be a little bit easier for him moving into game 3, where potentially getting off that Geomancy at the right point could make him a Pokemon World Champion.
That's kind of what I was mentioning, though, before we went into game 2, is I don't know if Lewis wants to continue to invest into the strategy of using Gengar's Shadow Tag and Perish Song combination, because Ko clearly figured that out. So I wonder if Lewis is going to make another adjustment or decide that Gengar just can't come out into the field right away. The turn 0 is so important for both of these players because of how those type matchups work out.
Yeah, and we see how close that one is too, where if Gengar is able to get back on the field safely, Incineroar attacks the other Pokemon or does something a little bit more harmless like a U-turn, maybe that match goes the other way, and we're talking about how amazing the 2-game victory Lewis just had was. But it's just that important for Ko to take advantage of every time that Gengar's on the field. You can't give it any easy turns. But on the flip side, if Lewis does go for a Gengar strategy, he's going to have to play it a little bit more conservatively this time. That's a very frail Pokemon, and it's super important for it to stay healthy. So he's going to have to be careful where he can't switch it in any dangerous attacks, or at least at the very least, he's got to be very confident that he's inside Ko's head enough to know that there aren't any attacks coming into that slot.
Well, we're ready to get into it. Third game here in the Senior Division Grand Finals at the World Championships. Both players locked into their leads for this last game that's going to decide it all. Lewis and Ko getting ready to battle it out here, and we're going to get a chance to see what strategy they want to go into this last game with. Ko believes in the Togedemaru, so Togedemaru and Rayquaza hitting the field on that side of things, and Lewis trying that Gengar strategy again with Tapu Fini.
Yeah, same lead matchup as game 2, where I think once again Lewis kind of realizing, all right, well, if there's the potential for a Mungus, I need to get Misty Terrain out. Tapu Fini potentially also able to set that light screen again. I'll be interested to see if Gengar switches out of battle immediately once again. Make both sides aware that Ko has some interesting ways of trying to take advantage of that play now, and also maybe isn't so afraid of that Tapu Fini. Again, ordinarily with Tapu Fini facing down Rayquaza, maybe you're a little bit more intimidated, but perhaps Ko feels like he's learned enough about this Tapu Fini where he can be a little bit reckless in front of it, because Lewis hasn't shown any way that Tapu Fini can kind of punish Rayquaza going too hard on the aggressive.
Yeah, no Scald yet from that Tapu Fini, so probably not an offensive Pokemon that really does contest some of those damage dealers on Ko's side. But we are going to see Gengar Mega Evolve here first. Shadow Tag getting activated right away.
Yeah, so opting for a different play this time. It'll be interesting to see if Gengar protects or not. Last game we saw a Helping Hand Earth Power going into that slot, which would be terrible for Gengar to take if you're on Lewis's side. So tough to play risky. Tapu Fini not switching either, so this will be the first game we don't immediately see Incineroar coming in as well from Lewis's side.
Yeah, this is going to be a really interesting thing to see. Ko already a little excited
he thinks
here.
He's made the play on this one. We'll have to see what comes down.
We'll have to see what that play actually is. Fake out into the Tapu Fini slot. So that was a great read there, and a Tailwind for free here. Ko feeling really good about that play he just made.
Yeah, he gives up absolutely nothing, and now it's going to be even more difficult for Lewis to make plays with this Mega Gengar. He keeps its health bar safe for one turn, but now that Tailwind is active, Gengar's going to be slower than both of Ko's Pokemon. Tapu Fini not capable of redirecting attacks or anything like that. Gengar already used its Protect. Ko's really got Lewis pinned down here, where he's going to have to choose which of his Pokemon he's okay with taking some serious damage.
I think it might be Incineroar here, because Tapu Fini is switching out, and Incineroar is coming in just to try to mitigate some of that damage that Ko is ready to get offensive with here. Intimidate hitting both of the Pokemon on Coast side of the field, and Rayquaza going for an Earth Power. No Helping Hand this time, but it still might be enough. Gengar barely holds on. Maybe that Helping Hand really needed it. Zing Zap, though, is it going to get doubled into? No, it goes into the Incineroar slot. But Gengar gets off Perish Song.
It's such a play for Lewis there. You know, if Gengar gets knocked down by that Earth Power, this game could have been over on the second turn. Instead, he does just barely get that Perish Song off, and we'll have to see if Ko is able to navigate it a little bit better this time. Last time, Gengar never got hit at all in Game 1 after it used Perish Song, so 13 HP would be enough. Positioning is a little bit different this time. We should also keep in mind Togedemaru's item. We've already seen that eject button. You know, Ko isn't able to switch directly, but Togedemaru, if it's hit by anything, is able to switch out of battle. If Ko is feeling very frisky, he could even attack his own Togedemaru with Rayquaza to activate that eject button and get a switch here.
Well, we're going to see the rotation we expected to see here. Gengar going for Protect just to keep that Shadow Tag ability active and Gengar safe. A double Protect now just to wait out those turns of Perish Song and give Lewis some time to figure out how he wants to reposture his own Pokemon.
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice play by Coast side, too. He doesn't do anything too aggressive yet. He still has 2 more turns of this to deal with. There's not really any way that Lewis is going to be able to keep the lockdown, so he doesn't even try to get out of it. These 2 Pokemon just attacking the Gengar slot will at least force it to switch out. But there is the option of that same play we saw last time, you know, switching Gengar, Incineroar using U-turn, and then suddenly Mega Gengar's back on the field without having ever put itself in any danger. We'll have to see if Ko goes for anything to try to take advantage of that play, because it's definitely available to Lewis once again, just like in Game 1.
It is going to be available there, but Gengar doesn't want to take any more chances. Is going to switch out in favor of Groudon coming onto the field. Groudon able to pump out a lot of pressure, especially against that Togedemaru. Interesting to see what's going to happen next, though. Groudon Primal reverting here. Desolate Land now active on the battlefield. And with Rayquaza in Mega Evolved mode, it will not be able to change that weather so far. But an Earth Power coming out from the Rayquaza into the Groudon slot. Groudon does survive through that one, taking a little bit more of HP, but an Encore into the Incineroar slots. Ko very much celebrating that Encore.
Oh man, you know, we were kind of joking before that maybe Togedemaru would be the MVP just like Pachirisu. I think Togedemaru may have just clinched Ko's World Championship victory. Gengar not able to make it back out. Incineroar almost definitely went for a U-turn there, but Togedemaru forcing it to protect instead, and now there's no Shadow Tag left in the field. Ko, if he wants to, could switch either of these Pokemon out of battle, avoid the Perish Trap this time. He's still going to have to take some damage on this turn from Groudon and Incineroar, but able to avoid the Perish Trap. Really, really fantastic play by Ko.
I think Ko figured out how to play around this matchup, and it's going in his favor now. Rayquaza gonna get able to switch out here, Incineroar coming in, and maybe we'll see a double switch out as well, as Togedemaru still has a chance to do that.
Yeah, Incineroar not gonna be able to do much here. You know, Encore to protect, so Lewis probably going to have to switch too. Oh wow, what a play by Ko.
Oh, such a good play, and we're still seeing some of the effects of that. Gengar does get a chance to go after the field, but oh, Togedemaru using Zing Zap.
Oh no, he catches it on the switch.
Oh no, Gengar going down. Critical hit not going to matter here, but Togedemaru going down, a champion.
Yeah, I mean, likely going to fate to this precipice place here, but Togedemaru has taken over this match.
Absolutely. Oh, wait. Oh, no way. Togedemaru is sturdy and going to endure the hit here. Eject button now activated, and Togedemaru gets to leave the battlefield.
Togedemaru plays continue. Often we see Togedemaru with its other ability, but Sturdy kicking in there makes it even better in this matchup, and Rayquaza gets back in for free.
Oh my goodness. I need a second to breathe because that was just an insane level of play here coming out from Ko.
You got to feel for Lewis here. It's like, it seemed like he had the game in hand, and then Togedemaru just went crazy. About 3 really important things from the Togedemaru in 2 different turns. You know, picks up the knockout on the Gengar, foils the Perish Trap, and it even gets to survive, so it can come back in later, cause some more trouble with perhaps Encore again or Fake Out. Just really great play by Ko. You see why he's gotten so deep in this tournament using such an unconventional Pokemon. You know, you can't carry any Pokemon as dead weight at the Pokemon World Championships. All these Pokemon on these teams for a reason, and you see, you know, even though we don't see this in every team, if you put it in the position to succeed, it's very capable of dominating even in the finals of the Pokemon World Championships.
Well, it's not over just yet. Lewis's Pokemon are still pretty healthy right now, so there's definitely a chance for Lewis to figure out a way to control a knockout situation here onto one of Ko's Pokemon that really threatens his field, and maybe squeak back into this match.
Yeah, Groudon, the one remaining Pokemon on Lewis's side that can dish out a lot of damage, so he's going to have to be very careful with it. I can't afford to have that knocked out. Tapu Fini and Incineroar are more defensive in nature, so he's going to have to try to find a way to get some free attacks off, pick up a knockout or two. Likely still has to face down that Xerneas, so he needs to keep some health on his side of the board, not to just get run over later.
Absolutely. Well, Intimidate might help out with a little bit of that. Intimidate was going to connect with both Pokemon, but ooh, Incineroar actually eats the fake out. Earth Power from the Rayquaza going into the Groudon slot. And that's going to be a knockout here. Cone now with a 2-Pokemon advantage. Lewis's last hopes are on the Incineroar and the Tapu Fini.
Lewis kind of trying to catch Cone sleeping there, realizes behind in the game. I need my opponent to make a mistake to get back in. But Cone calls it perfectly. He's playing absolutely out of his mind this match. Perfect in this game 3. Massive advantage, and Lewis could be forfeiting.
Lewis might be forfeiting here, doesn't want to play this out. And if that's the case, then we might have a new grand champion.
And the match
is forfeited. Give it up, ladies and gentlemen, for your new Senior VGC World Champion.